Word.
And your favorite song is coming up in 1 minute. As soon as
Okay.
it goes, I'm waiting for this. I've been waiting for this whole time. Uh
Ouch. What's behind me? I
okay.
am waiting for my filters, my lights, and my green screen because I've got to figure out why my screen always shows so dark on from the computer.
Pull it back a little bit. Okay. That was better, clearer, but it's
Okay.
still got the fuzzy around it. That's
I
what I'm trying to
know,
figure
and it's
out.
supposed to adjust. But anyway,
Take a minute and do a quick wipe on the mirror, the camera. Just to wipe it.
oh, okay.
And your theme song. Gosh, I can't find it. What's the theme song again? You don't always
Uh,
do.
Where's the love
I
by
know.
Black Eyed
You
Peas?
listen, I always got to do that to you, don't I? I already got it up. I just want to laugh. Say, what's the
Okay.
song again? Are you ready, Ramona?
Yes, I am. I'm excited.
Are you excited?
Yes,
All right, because you got a great one on the show with you right
I
now.
know.
One of
I know.
the original great ones that were there. I'm not going to say years ago.
One of the elders,
Oh God, yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
wisdom. No, we're this generation here is the last of the living memories.
Okay.
Literally, literally.
Literally,
And these
literally.
people today are just as insane as I don't know what to say about keep people no more. People have lost their bleeding minds, and I laugh
We
more
have
than
seen the worst. We have seen the worst of this country and the best.
True.
all right. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Here comes the music, and we're about to go and find some love. Here we go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ramona Speaks, The Other Truth, on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. And tonight's guest is a wonderful, wonderful spirit. Her name is Barbara DeLong. And Barbara has done numerous radio and television shows and conventions, and her radio show podcast, Nightlight, intended to be just that in a time when many are awakening to the gifts and talents that they carry within them. Her interviews with authors and gifted individuals help others to gain insight into themselves as well as the reality in which we dwell. She provides a platform for many to share the truths they have uncovered and the insights that can change our perception of the world in which we live. She is an ordained spiritual minister. She has served a local spiritualist church as one of the rotating ministers from 2003 to 2008. Her website, barbaradelong.com, is a teaching site, so you guys need to go and check it out. She is also a Reiki master. And what got me really excited was The Secrets of the Stones, which is a documentary, a project that she had been involved in and completed in 2011. And it was presented in a megalomania conference. She wrote and narrated and is co-producer of the video. And it is just amazing, but I wouldn't be able to do it justice here because you have to see it to believe it. Thousands of miles of stone walls that no one knows who built them. You need to check it out. It's on YouTube. You can go to her website, click it on. And she wrote a book called The Whispers of Spiritual Wisdom, published by Oracle Publishing. And it's available on Amazon, which is where I purchased it. And it is a lovely, marvelous, uplifting book. And I don't know if we're going to have time because I thought maybe I would just pick a few things that I wanted to talk to her about. But it's like every page, there's something that either I want has my mantra or is so deep that you could meditate on them. And I've got to ask, Barbara, are you happy to be here today?
Delighted. I didn't realize my bio was so long.
Well, you've lived a life worthy of it.
Well, it's 77 years and counting. So yeah,
God
still
bless you.
working on it.
Yes. Yes. So tell me, it didn't say how you got on this path.
Well, always been spiritual, but the thing that triggered me into realizing that there was more out there and that I had only scratched the surface was because the UFO landed on my campus when I was in college in 1966.
Wait, go back.
Yeah,
You.
a UFO landed on my campus. Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was, I went to school in Michigan and I went to Eastern Michigan University. And one evening in the spring, we heard the news flash that it was after 11 o'clock at night. And there was a news flash that there was a UFO spotted on our campus. And we heard the police cars go streaking by with their sirens on and everything. And we heard one of the radios say, we're going to turn the stadium lights on so we can get a better look at it. And we saw the glow in the sky as the lights went on. And this disc rose up and swooped over my dorm. And as it swooped, it was close enough so people who have heard me say this before are probably getting sick of hearing me say it. But if it had had a VIN number, I would have seen it. It was less than 100 feet away from me.
Wow. Oh my
And it blanked
gosh.
out the whole sky, and then suddenly it went and it was gone. And no breaking the sound barrier boom, nothing like that. They had stopped all the traffic to all three airports around the campus at that time. And the news at midnight, when the news came on the radio, said nothing about it. There was no mention of
Mhm.
it at all. Yet for the rest of the evening, there were state policemen and with dogs that patrolled the entire campus. So
Wow.
and it was fascinating in that the girls' dorms were all locked because, of course, everything happens after 11 o'clock at night. So if they got us locked in at 11, we would all be safe. And I can remember some of the girls, we were all crowded around the windows. Some were screaming, some were hysterical, some were hiding in closets. Um, I saw the object, but the girl standing right next to me did not see it. So I had to think that at a later time, when I saw Close Encounters of a Third Kind, it was sort of like it depended on your level of consciousness, whether you saw this or not. And that didn't mean, are you smart? It just meant more, are you open to possibilities like this? And I was all set to sign on and go on board and take a trip.
Oh wow.
So that's what
Yeah.
started me on this whole journey of looking into different aspects of spirituality and stretching myself as far as asking questions. And I think that's one of the reasons why Nightlight was put on the network 12 almost 13 years ago. And people said, why are you calling it Nightlight? And I said, there has to be a nightlight where people can find information to enlighten themselves to go on their own journeys. So it's a very
Absolutely.
appropriate name. I don't know if I was intelligently thinking of it at the time, but I can certainly defend it now. And I think it was a great name.
Right. And there are some great shows that are on there too.
Oh, yeah, I've had
Wow.
I've had such an honor. There are on the Blog Talk channel, there are almost 800 shows, and on YouTube, I think there are close to 400 or a little more than 400 shows.
Wow. Okay. So after that incident in 61, where did that lead you? What was next?
I graduated and got married and had a child, and then got divorced, and then really started in on the journey of reading everything I could get. And I taught special education for 25 years. And while doing that, I was still on the spiritual trail trying to find out, most people don't ask, things like, okay, we know who created this, and this, but who created the creator? And where did it all come from? And where did it all start? And what is our purpose here? And it isn't just to live mundane lives. It's there's a spirit inside of us. We all have a seed of the divine inside of each of us, and
Absolutely.
that's we're meant to, in each lifetime, gather information and lessons that enhance that seed, so that it grows, and lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and for thousands of lifetimes or millions of lifetimes, since there is all of eternity to play with. um, at some point, that seed will become a source of consciousness that will move into another dimension, send out seeds, and create its own universe, and begin to seed another generation of spirits towards a final destination for themselves.
Wow. I couldn't agree with you more. On your website, you have
Mhm.
a section where you talk about the things you believe.
Yes,
And at the first beginning of it, you say, I believe that all souls were created in the same flash of light and then
yes,
scattered across the universe, each with the purpose of evolving and growing so that it could in time evolve into a source of creation. Expound on that. That's just wow.
Well, if you stop to think about it, I have a lot of friends who are very religiously oriented, and I'm not knocking religion. Religion has served a great purpose over the millennia, but it to me seems, people who say, well, I'm going to die and go home, and then I'm going to be with my family for the rest of eternity, that doesn't make sense. If your soul has been on a journey for thousands or millions of lifetimes, there's a purpose to gathering that information. And that purpose is not to take it back to the source that created everything to begin with and already has all the answers. And besides that, if you look at dandelions, if you look at milkweed, um, when they get to maturity, they send out seeds. And I think that the source of creation for all of us is still there, but it's a consciousness. It's not somebody looking over us and judging us and manipulating our lives. It's a consciousness that is watching its seeds grow or not and evolve. But that the purpose of it was to send out the seeds and then to be sort of like an anchor for those seeds to move on from, but not go back to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to call the source of all creation God, which I don't like doing because that limits it, because we've had gods on earth here, we've had the Greek gods and the Roman gods, and those gods are not the God that created us. So the term God doesn't fit anymore to where I feel our source was. So I call it the divine, or the source of all creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that the earth as a planet has been an incubator for a lot of spirits, and that from time to time, species from other dimensions have come through and helped to expand our consciousness so that we can grow and move forward in time. I do believe that we are individual entities, and the only person that really judges us is ourselves. So that there's no fiery pit, there's no hell. I mean, there is a place called hell, in the Holy Land. It's called Gehenna, but Gehenna was really the dump for the city, and that's where all the dead bodies were thrown, and that's why they call it hell or Gehenna.
Wow.
So no devils,
Okay.
unless we have them inside of ourselves, and that's an aspect of ourselves that we're growing to understand, to learn, to deal with, and to evolve beyond.
Wow. You say the one guideline for your ministry is that we never sit in judgment of another, and
No,
that you truly believe we are here to celebrate the light within, share laughter, experience
yeah, I was
unconditional love.
I was ordained in the priesthood of Melchizedek, and that the premise there is to not sit in judgment, and to spread your philosophy, your truth, your own inner truth. Now, people don't have to accept my inner truth, because they have their own inner truth. But if
Right.
something I say resonates, they take it in, incorporate it into themselves, and move on. I believe that you have two kinds of people in this world. You have the parrots and you have the prophets.
Right.
And the parrots will repeat something verbatim, chapter and verse, but not know what they're saying.
Right.
And the prophets will read a chapter or a verse or a wise saying and bring it into themselves, make it a part of themselves, and then start living it, and then talking their own truth that has evolved from that material. So, I try not to be the parrot, because I can't remember chapters and verses. So I just take the
I can't either.
philosophies.
I can't either. Which is, it's weird because I was taught to read by the Bible at
Mhm.
3, starting at 3. But I'm not a Bible verse uh, person.
Well, there's some very good material there,
Yes,
but
it's a lot, you
yeah,
know. It's like your book. You can't. I mean, what I mean is that, there's so much in it that is so profound and everything, that I couldn't, recite this or that. I took notes, of course, but it's like when something resonates with you, you embrace it and you pull it in because it connects with your spirit.
Yeah.
And from there, I believe it starts to grow and manifest, and you together with it to start living and manifesting that into your reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I look at the religious writings.
And
I find
it-
myself,
well, all of the religious writings were made from the um, perspective or the frame of reference of the people that wrote it.
yeah, the
And
experiencers.
and here we are, what, 2,000 years later. Hopefully, we have a broader frame of reference so that we can give better insight into what was written.
Yes,
I don't believe that the Bible is meant to be um, on lockdown, so to speak. I do believe you're supposed to take those philosophies and grow and live by them.
mhm,
To love, to share, to give, to be compassionate with other people. Wonderful material.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, we had been discussing. Let's go back to once you got divorced and you started on your literal spiritual journey of seeking and finding.
Yes.
What through it's so much, I'm sure, but what stands out to you the most? What taught you the biggest lesson in this journey?
Wow. Well, I don't think that I have ever not learned something from anyone that
Right.
I've been in touch with. So I've but been one specific thing. I think my journey so far has been just like everybody else's journey. And that I have had as much mishigash in my life as everyone else has. Um, and I think that there's nothing, there's not one key element that did it. It was, I guess, when I began to realize that everything is a lesson, and it's important to understand that observing the very small details that are in your life, you come more into contact with the higher consciousness, the spirit that's inside of you. And
Mhm.
as long as you're listening to that spirit, then you're in touch with the divine, because that spirit goes directly, comes from the divine. And that's where cosmic consciousness is. And that's where the wisdom of the ages is. And you can pick up a book that's old and dusty that has, I mean, Manly P. Hall's books stand the test of time.
Mhm.
They're only words, and unless you make them a part of yourself, they don't live. So that it's, understanding that concept that everything is a lesson, and they don't all feel good,
No, they don't. No,
but
they don't.
their purpose, their intent is to give you a positive lesson. And once you find that positive lesson, the difficulty goes away.
Absolutely. You know what for me was the scariest, profound moment in my journey was realizing through an incident that happened that I didn't control well. And my life was turned upside down, and I was immediately separated from all those I love, surrounded by strangers, not knowing what the next day would bring. And in that moment, I realized that no matter how much we think we are so in charge and so in control, that we're really not. and that the only thing that we can control is how this journey affects us.
Exactly. And I think sometimes too, before we incarnate, we sort of give and kind of have an idea as to what aspects of life are we going to expand upon this lifetime. And there have been times when I can remember sitting and thinking, I know in my right mind I would have not have signed up for this.
I said the same. Oh my God, yeah.
And it's sort of like, what was I thinking? Did I go drinking before I reincarnated? What was and
Ooh.
it's sort of like, before you incarnate, you're in etheric form. You're a spirit. You have no physical. And you kind of, I jokingly say, you go into the reincarnation building and they give you a checklist and you check what you want to look at, work at. And I think there have been lifetimes where I said, oh, geez, let me just get it all over with at once. I'll check all the boxes. And, I think this lifetime, I was one of those ambitious people that said, oh, let me see, but let's just do all of it and get it over with. It doesn't come that way because there's a new list next time. But, we actually ask for situations that will allow us to grow. And I like to think that the more difficult the lessons become, the more evolved a spirit is. Now that's just my perception. That's just because it makes me feel good. But
Because I have a question to that, because I thought I of course, anybody who's on a path has always entertained that thought as it affects their lives. And
yes,
the one question I keep coming up with is that if I was someplace that was so wonderful with the all-knowing and everything, why do I want to experience the pain, the suffering, the loss that is not supposedly felt there? Um, what was I thinking? What would make me do that?
well,
And to what good?
that's easy. Um, because when you're on the other side, when you're in etheric spirit form, you have no form, you don't feel pain, but you don't feel love either. You don't feel understanding, you don't feel the wisdom. I mean, it's there, but there's no way to express it. The only place you have a place to express it is down here. And so love, yes, touching, absolutely, but also understanding the pain we can cause other people and realize what it does to them. I mean,
Yeah.
and when we feel pain, it's not so much that, somebody did something to us. We asked for that situation so we could learn something from it. And there have been times that it's taken me a long time to figure out just what was the positive here, that
Mhm.
that I required this to happen over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And so that it's sort of like, this is where you have to put your thoughts into physical manifestation. And when you put them into physical manifestation, it either works or it doesn't. But that's okay, because you always got another life you can come back to. So, and the other side isn't um, the way most people, it's not a place where it's not a celestial rest home.
Mhm. What'd you say? A celestial rest home?
It's not. It's a place where it's like a transfer station,
Yeah.
and you may come back to Earth, or you may be a green blob someplace else. But there's so much to learn, and there's so much that can only be learned in the physical. That's
Right.
why we come back here as much as we do. There's always more you can learn.
Do you, from all that you've read and studied and learned, and from the writings of the experiences people were going through 1,000 years ago as compared to now. Is there any difference in their understanding, their correlation to the whys and the what's in the house?
One would hope so. If you go back 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, often we think about those people being primitive, but they weren't. They had the same size brains we do, and they were able to rationally
Right.
think the way we are. But they didn't have the frame of reference that we do. So that it takes time to grow and to understand and to move into other realms of consciousness. The earlier people had no concept of God. The very, very early ones, if you go back far enough, there was no God. There was the Dogons. There was a trail of us. The Milky Way was the trail of spirits that took us to the other side, and then there was reincarnation. So that the element of a God that judged is sometimes a primitive person's way of explaining away a difficulty that they should have been smart enough to not cause for themselves.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow.
I think it's a level of consciousness. It's a level of understanding of who you are and what you are. And originally the concept of God and religion was given to the early primitive people so that they felt that they were protected by something or someone. And then unfortunately, religions grew out of that, and religions became corporations controlling people through fear lots of
Yeah.
times. And so I'm not saying religion's a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing, and it gives a lot of people solace and comfort. But spiritual goes beyond that. And you can do both. They absolutely coexist together.
In today's society, like
Mhm.
right now, and what we're going through all over the world. But let's talk about here where it directly affects us.
Mhm.
With all the awake talk and all the new age
Stuff.
stuff, the meditation going on, the prayer, the church services, the hallelujahs. Why? I ask myself, why in the heck are we no further along in our relationships with each other as neighbors? All this spirituality floating around us.
Well, a lot of it has to do with ego. A lot of it, we all have an ego, and lots of people think that earning a lot of money and having a lot of toys is important. And a lot of people like to control things and manipulate things and manipulate people. Um, the information today is out there, the understanding of the teachings of, and I'm not going to go back to Jesus, I'm going to go back to the Druids. I'm going to
Yeah.
go way far back where it was love one another, take care of one another, share with each other. Those are the concepts that have come through every major religion out there. They are the foundations of them. But on top of them, people who wanted to manipulate created dogma to control the people and the congregations to support the church. And so we've created these organizations that now have control over us. I often, asked, and for a while I had converted to Catholicism, and it bothered me that I had to go through someone to get to the divine or the God. it was, can't I just talk directly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's a matter of, I think so many people are so frightened today that they don't understand that they have within them the power to change things within their lives. We had a wonderful experience of a shutdown that gave everyone a chance to look inside of themselves, make changes in themselves, and change their direction and change their perception and change the way they treated one another. We were isolated so that we had that private time. And
Hmm.
during that time, so many people did discover strength in themselves and different ways of doing the things that they had to do. And
Yes.
they created their own jobs. They did, I mean, the stories are phenomenal. And it was all to serve other people too. It was basically not making money for themselves. It was taking care of themselves and their family, but it wasn't making big money. It was being of service.
Right.
And now that, a lot of the masks are off, a lot of the, everybody's going back to the way it was.
Hmm.
And they're not remembering those lessons. They're not remembering caring for each other and taking care of our neighbors and all of that stuff. And it's such a shame because so many people did pass away. And I'm not saying that there wasn't a virus, and I'm not saying there wasn't a lot of people that died, because there were.
Yeah.
But it gave humanity a lesson, and a global humanity a lesson that,
Yes.
that I fear has not been learned.
Exactly. Um, in your book, you on what page? 52. It's called The Golden Rule,
Mhm.
the dove and the olive branch of peace. And you say the golden rule, we've all heard it, most of us have quoted it to death.
Yep.
It's so well known, you just have to say the golden rule, and almost everyone knows what you're talking about. And you list, like in 570 AD, Islam had their golden rule: not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself.
Mhm.
And then you go to the 6th century BC in Shinto, and you say, and their rule of that time was, do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself. Then you go back 2,000 years ago to Christianity, and it says, in everything do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. You go back 2,500 years ago, Buddhism: treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. 5th century BC, Taoism:
Yes.
regard your neighbor's gain as your own, and your neighbor's loss as your own. Judaism, 1,800 years: what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary.
You can take it back even further to the Druids, and it's the same philosophy.
Yes. So, what is the philosophy today? Because 5,000 years we've had the same in the civilizations and in the spiritual aspect of those civilizations, the same thing. It's not a new thought. And yet, everyone fell, those civilizations fell.
Yep.
And here we are. We have all of that behind us to know and recognize there must be something to it.
Oh, geez, yeah, but stop and think about it. On this planet, there have been 5 mass destruction
Yes,
occurrences where basically humanity was almost sent back to a single cell and had to develop again.
yes,
And according to the Aztecs and Native American Indians, we've done this 4 or 5 times, and this is nothing new. And it's sort of like we will do it until we get it right. And if you look at today, if you look at society today, it is so screwed up. It's unbelievable. Um, I look at it and I keep thinking, how did we get here? This is, there are many that say we're in the end days. I don't believe that. I don't believe there's been a man walking in Times Square for I don't know how long, announcing the end of time, and it still hasn't come.
Right.
So, there's always going to be somebody like that. But it just seems to me that the more advanced we get in technology, the less we lose our humanity.
Yeah. The more we lose our humanity,
Yeah,
I think.
the more we lose it. But
And
going to space and stuff, I don't believe that first of all that we'll get there, and I don't believe we belong there, and I do believe that the Earth as a planet is in quarantine because we're so warlike. And
yeah.
in the United States, which is my only frame of reference here, every time there's a new invention, the first thing they try to do is to turn it into a weapon.
To weaponize it, no matter what it is.
And this flu was man-made.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that came from nature. It wasn't a common cold that got really, really bad. It was something that we created ourselves, and it wiped out hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people.
Yeah.
And are they going to stop? No.
No.
They're just going back into, being a little more careful. But that's it's very upsetting, and I do believe that at some point in time, there have been red flags that have been created to manipulate the population. The next one is going to be an invasion of aliens. What mark my words. And what you're going to see are holographs. I don't think that any alien race that wanted to take over the planet could have done it a long time ago without our help.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course.
There was a time where I was very into all of the alien technology and the aliens. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there has been alien technology that we have reverse engineered and utilized. But to the extent that everybody has it out there, no, they're chasing their tails instead of sitting back and working on their own spirituality. They're out hunting Bigfoot or reptilians or grays or whatever. Personally, I don't believe they exist.
Mm-hmm.
I will believe they exist when they sit down in my office here and they talk to me.
Right. Right.
And until then, they don't exist. It's just a story that's been made up to frighten us and scare us into letting the government do things that are inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. So having said that,
Yes.
why aren't what makes it so hard for us to be closer to that level of spirituality? Or is it something that is fleeting? I've sometimes I've tossed around the idea that maybe there's amongst us, there's people with souls and spirits and have this type of um, connect. And then there are those wanting these souls. And I mean, is it possible, do you think, just in your opinion, for a living thing to not have a soul?
No, I believe we all have souls. I believe that we don't always manifest the spiritual that is within us, but everybody has a soul. I mean, cats have souls, dogs have souls, trees have spirits. I mean, the devas, they call them the nature devas, but they're a soul, they're a spirit, they're a living part of creation. And so that it's important to understand that. you know, there are certain reptiles that I don't think have souls, but that's because I don't like them and I'm scared of them. They probably have them. You know, I had some big mother ants that invaded
Wow.
my kitchen every
Oh
spring.
God.
It was like, don't come in here. I'm going to kill you. I'll send you on to the next life. But you're going down. So I do believe there are people whose intention of being here on the planet at this time is to experience some, I would call it, I don't want to, difficult times that they are being challenged so that a part of their spirit has to work its way out and come to terms with things. I believe that Adolf Hitler had a spirit. It was his personality. Understand, the spirit is not the soul or the personality. The spirit is that life force within it. The personality and what drives the human being is the soul and the lower consciousness, so that sometimes the spirit just can't get through all of those different layers to manifest within reality. And sometimes the journey for a lifetime is to not allow that spirit through, is for that spirit to feel the frustration of not being able to be as holy and divine as it actually is. And that could be part of the lesson.
Yeah.
I know people that I really question whether they're all there or not, but they probably aren't all there on purpose, so they learn something.
Okay. Okay. I'll entertain that thought. Uh, because I think we know those same people. But no, I just is so would you say that there are some here that won't get to that level of understanding?
In the
No,
physical, possibly not, but once they
right,
cross over, they're pure spirit, and so then they're connected to cosmic oneness. They are pure spirit and they're pure love, and they may step back and need to brush themselves off a bit from the lifetime, but that they experienced something that was necessary for their growth and their understanding and their spiritual sense of what they are meant to be and do, and what their goal is as far as the evolution through lifetimes. um, I just sometimes you see people that are just so selfish you can't believe it. And yet that could be the lesson that they need to learn this lifetime. There are people that turn away true love and look for ambition and avarice in other directions. Again, a lesson they're here to learn. And you can't stop those people.
right,
You can't convince them there's another way. They have to
right,
do what they do because that's the only way they're going to learn the lesson that evolves the spirit that is inside of them.
right,
I mean, have
right.
you ever sat down with somebody and just not been able to get through to them because
Oh yeah.
and the reality is you're not meant to give them the direction, because to be honest with you, my direction isn't your direction isn't anybody else's direction, so you don't know what the purpose of their lifetime is.
Exactly. It took me a long time to accept that because it was like, why can't you see? Can't you see? Can't you see? Don't you know that you're loved? Nothing. I mean, it was like, and it is like, because that person is still around, is like talking to a brick they cannot see. And finally, after all these years, I've had to say that this person is on their own journey. It has nothing to do with me personally.
There's a term that isn't exactly highly evolved, but it's not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah, Yeah.
I know,
Except
I know
when
people,
you're put in close contact with them,
yeah,
or your life is affected, and then you've got to go into your thing to try to navigate around it, I guess.
I think, there's sometimes people that you love to pieces and yet
Oh,
they don't feel that they deserve it and they won't accept it. And it's like having it bounced back at you like, I don't want it. And it's
yeah,
like, how can you not want love? I mean, if it's the right kind of love, it's unconditional love.
yeah,
And there are times when I have loved people that just didn't want to have anything to do with my love, and it's sort of like my learning what unconditional is, and unconditional means it doesn't have to be returned. I just love you.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. I said that to somebody, uh, explaining to them they were going through turmoil with their sisters,
uh-huh.
and saying they don't love me and this and that. Well, no, that's not. I knew that wasn't true. I knew um, that it was not them, and I had to explain to her. I said, I think we as humans make the wrong assumption about others that because I love this way, they should love me the same way that I love them.
Well, it would be nice.
Yeah,
um
but it doesn't work that way.
no, no, and it's sort of like with addictions.
Yeah,
um I've experienced addiction 2 or 3 times in my life. And when even though something isn't good for you, the body rebels and says, yes, it is.
yeah,
And it's a matter of not so much willpower as loving yourself enough to let go of something that you are relying upon that has been a crutch.
wow,
And it's sort of like sometimes your 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 crutch your crutch becomes um, an illustration of a difficulty for you, and you don't want to let go of it. So that it's sort of like you have to be careful when something becomes a crutch, because the crutch means you can't get on without it.
yeah,
And that's not true. You can.
yeah, yeah,
It's not as much fun sometimes, but
right,
you
yeah, absolutely. Because I've gone through that, and when I find, I guess my personality or my spiritual thing in this life is I'm not going to be controlled by anything or anybody.
Mhm.
So when I start to get that feeling, I have to say, wait a minute, I've got to prove to myself I'm not good. I mean, it's silly, but
No,
I've noticed myself doing that. It's like I'll sit, I'm comfortable to be by myself. And so I can leave situations. I can, my mother once said to me, I don't think you've ever truly loved anybody because it's too easy for you to leave them. But it's not easy. But I know that I love them enough that I have to go
mhm.
and trust that if it is meant for us to be together, we'll find our way back. But I'd rather not inflict pain or unhappiness. And I don't want anybody to do that on me in a continuous basis.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I have to love myself, or my survival instinct kicks in, and I leave. I suffer when I leave, but I know how to remove myself.
well, not everybody does.
Yeah,
And sometimes those kind of
yeah.
relationships are a lifetime of a lesson. and
Mm-hmm.
and you can move into the next life with hopefully the lesson learned, so that you don't have to go through it again.
Yeah,
And that's what past lives are for. And every now and then, that's what tapping into your past lives is sometimes a good idea, so that you can figure out, what am I working on? Why am I getting this kind of a situation? Is this something I need to deal with? And most people just live their lives. They don't look at their lives and see what's happening and what kind of patterns they have. And it's a great way to self-diagnose yourself, to sort of take a look at, where are my patterns? I mean, the older I get, the more I see the patterns, repeating themselves. And it's kind of like, I had better learn this lifetime, because I'm not coming back and
Right.
doing it again.
Right. Right. I said the same thing. Yes. I don't want to. I don't want to repeat and go through those same agonies again. But I know that we cannot make, I mean, for me, in my heart of hearts, and I, I just don't believe that we just get one go through and that's it.
Yeah.
Because there's too many lessons to be learned on all ends.
Oh, yeah. And, it's amazing. I mean, you have friendship things, you have independent things, you have things that are, just of your own. You have talents and gifts that you haven't utilized this lifetime. I know that with the psychic stuff, um, I learned that I do it very naturally, and that other people don't. They struggle with it. A lot of the spiritual stuff I do, I figured everybody could do, but that's not true. And I think the older I get, the more impressed I am, because I just, the things that I have taken for granted, other people struggle for and never achieve, and yet it came very natural to me. So
Right.
um, I think a great deal of it has to do with finding your purpose in life and following your bliss, and sharing and being of service to others while you grow. And I think that's one of the important things that I learned, that my spirit is here to learn and grow for me. And if in doing so, I help other people, oh, that's just frosting on the cupcake.
Right.
But the purpose here is not to heal other people, but to heal myself. And in doing that, I give a higher quality of love to everybody else.
Wow.
And that was a
Mhm.
hard lesson.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people that have, declared, I'm a healer and I'm here to heal people. And basically you want to say, have you looked at your own life? Have you healed
Exactly.
your own life? And if you
Exactly.
heal your own life, in that healing, you heal others. But you don't negate yourself out and go and lay hands on and share energy with other people to heal them if you aren't there too.
Exactly.
And none of us are. We all have stuff we're still healing.
Exactly. And that's okay. But
Yeah.
you need to recognize it. Like people who come out and say, "Yeah, I'm a prophet and I can prophesize." It's
Yeah.
never wrong, and I speak to, God speaks through me through them, but they never said that before. It's I am this,
Hmm.
or
Well,
maybe it's God. God speaks through you, or works through you,
well,
or the higher conscious.
shamans have, true shamans never declare that they're a shaman. It's through their behavior that people will
Exactly.
say that's what they are. Um, as a channel, you bring information through from cosmic consciousness. However, because you're a channel, it means it comes through you. It means it picks up stuff of yours while it's coming through. And it means that what you're giving is flavored by your own energetic field. So
Hmm.
that um, it's not directly from the source. It may have started out there, but it had to come through somebody else. And quite often people who claim to be channelers are going through such tough stuff in their own lives, that whatever they get is flavored by their anger, their upset, their fear. And so you have to be very, very careful when you're going to people who say they are channeling. I think, especially with writing, a lot of the material on the website is channeled. Um, but the way you know if something is channeled is if it gives you a philosophy, it's most probably a channel. If it tells you what to do, even in the most beautiful flowery language, if it tells you exactly what to do, it's your ego talking. It's not you. It's not a channel. It's not something that comes from the spiritual realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yes, because I went through the reading, being a reader. I didn't know how to classify myself. I didn't I didn't like to be put on the spot. Can you read me? Type of thing. Because that put me in a whole different mindset. I would be walking down the street and something would say, this person right here needs blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And I'd have to step outside of my ego, uh, worried about being embarrassed or brushed away or whatever,
Yeah.
to say, excuse me, I know this is going to sound strange, but, and then I proceed.
Mhm.
Met a lot of people that way throughout my life.
Well, I think that, when you're driven to do something like that, that's definitely an inspired thought. Um, I did readings for decades,
Hmm.
and I found that, as we spoke the other day on the phone, I had created a huge number of codependent people that followed me everywhere and asked the same question every time.
Yeah,
And so I went to doing the interviews. The element of reading is just a level of spiritual development, and
right.
so many readers stop at that. They don't go the next step into mediumship, the next step into spirituality, the next step into whatever. And I hated being called a reader because that labeled me and that put me in a little box. And for a long time, my late husband said, you're really a spiritual empath.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
that that resonated for a while. And then it's sort of like a very long time ago, I started in, a light seeker, and then everybody was a light seeker, and everybody was a light bearer, and everybody was a light this. So the
Light workers.
yeah, and so I I call myself now, until it becomes hackneyed again. I'm a bridge walker. I walk the bridge between the physical and the spiritual,
Mm,
and I hopefully stand in the middle. Um,
yeah.
but that to me is more comfortable, and of course that term will eventually be used by a lot of people, and I'll have to find another term that refers to what I think I do. So
Hmm.
it's I mean, I don't like even having a label at all,
I know.
but for people to know sort of what you do, you have to give some of those old titles so that they understand kind of what you do, and hopefully they'll give you a chance to show that it's not quite what they think.
Yeah, because I've come to the situation where when I'm asked that, I said I do what I'm sent to do,
Well,
and I never know.
borrow a thing from God. I am that I am.
Yeah, and but that would have to be true because yeah, people can read the cards,
Yeah.
but sometimes something higher uses us to reach out in this physical world to someone that cannot hear them,
Mhm.
and that's our thing. I used to fight it because it would make me like get embarrassed, or they're gonna think I'm crazy. I had to get over that. I mean, seriously, you know that's why nothing shocks me anymore. I don't come off and say, oh, I don't believe that. I listen to what people say.
Mhm.
because I know from my own experience, I have things that if I wasn't there, I wouldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah. You know,
So I can't discount anything. I just say I've never experienced, but I'm sure it's possible because anything
sure.
is possible. Good, bad, indifferent.
Well, I have trouble when people talk about demons and being possessed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That bothers me. I'm not saying there aren't entities that will try to take over people from time to time. There are, but not to the extent that most people, talk about them. I get upset with a lot of the ghost hunters because, I mean, my goodness, um, energy does so much stuff that people claim are, entities that are trying to manipulate them and stuff. I think when there are, I don't understand why people really will sit and watch for hours. These people going through with their night vision glasses, looking for energy shifts and stuff like that because they're all over the place.
Mhm.
And doesn't mean it's a ghost. It's an energy. It's an energetic um, shift in the field that's going on, and we do that. If you scuffle your feet enough, you can give somebody a shock. That's energy. Um, there, the energy that we have access to, the power that we have inside of us, is incredible, and and it's not demonic, and it's, I mean, the poltergeist energy is usually from young children who are coming into their own, and with their own hormones going crazy. um I've not seen, I've been in lots of places that they said were haunted, and I never felt a haunting. um when we did the chambers, the stone chambers, I went in hundreds of them. And I can tell you absolutely they were not burial chambers because there was no essence of a spirit in them. Um, when your spirit leaves the body, it does not hang around. It's the Bible says we live a certain number of years and then we die and then we fly away. That's what the spirit does. It goes to another dimension. So, are there ghosts? Probably. I haven't met any yet, but and I've been around a long time.
Yeah.
So, but people have made a great occupation out of ghost hunting.
Yeah. And to me, I mean, from what I've watched, the shows that were on television and stuff,
Uh,
there were very seldom any proof of any ghosts.
I watched a long time ago when there was only one show out there. It was Taps, I think, and they were at that big hotel that
Oh,
the one I mean.
yes.
And they were in the basement, and they were wandering around doing, is somebody here and stuff like that. And they heard um, a sound that sounded like somebody was saying hello, and they got all excited. And I said, have you never taken a cat to a vet and heard it cry?
Hmm.
I mean, it was a cat crying.
Hmm.
I have cats. I
Yeah,
know
me
they
too.
can, I know they can sound like they say hello.
Babies.
Yeah. And all I could think of was these grown men are in a dark basement claiming that they're talking to a spirit that is really a cat that's lost,
Yeah. Yeah.
which bothered me. I worried that the cat could get out.
I mean, here's the thing. My attitude towards the ghost thing.
Mhm.
If I were to come back as a ghost or be here, I'm gonna tell you what to what is waiting for you. Otherwise, what would be the point of me hanging around? I
Well,
I I don't know. I just don't.
there are some that say they have channeled what the other side is like. Um, I have been in the tunnel with somebody who had passed over.
Mhm.
Um, she was a friend of mine, and she knew she was dying, and she said, "Will you go down the tunnel with me?" And I said, "Sure," because I didn't think I could. I mean, of
Yeah.
course I will. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I awoke, and she was standing right next to me, and we were in a tunnel. And I said, "I guess you died." And she said, "I'm pretty sure I did. Now what do we do?" And I said, "Pretty sure you're supposed to walk along the tunnel." And we walked for a while, and she said, "Isn't somebody supposed to greet me?" And I said, "I'm sure somebody will. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here." And she said, "No, no, I need you." And I said, "Okay, I'm here as long as I can." And we saw a light coming towards us. And I want to explain this tunnel to you because it wasn't dark and scary and creepy. It was dark and warm and comforting. It was a friendly place. It was not scary at all. And we saw this light coming towards us, and it was bouncing. And I said, "Oh, look, somebody's coming." And it was bouncing, and I thought, "Oh, this is really cool." And as it got closer, we realized, both of us, that it was a dog, and it was her dog that had passed away.
Wow.
And it jumped on me, and it licked me all over, and it jumped on her, and it licked her all over. And I said, I said, you've got company now, and I can see that there's light down there. So keep going. And I didn't go any further.
Mhm.
And when I woke up, the first thing I thought of was, what a vivid dream. And then I realized I was covered in dog spit. And it was
Seriously.
it was dog spit. I did not have a dog at the time, and her dog drooled, so it was all over me. And I got up, and I had to take a shower, and I had to change
Wow.
my sheets, and it was sort of like, wow.
Wow.
And the next day I called, and she sure enough had died at that particular hour that I found myself in the tunnel. So, and it's different for everybody, but for her it was the tunnel.
Wow. Wow.
I
I
no longer volunteer.
yeah. 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 I mean, I'm surprised, I'd say, well, I don't know because I wouldn't know how far I could go and could I come back and
Oh, there was no question I was coming back. I still had a lot to do. A long time ago, um, God, like 40 years ago, maybe a little more, I was
yeah.
diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and it was severe. And they told me I was going to die of it. And they sat me down, and they said, "Now look, your time is limited. You're going to die of this." And at the time, I wasn't heavily involved in this field. And I looked at the doctor, and I said, "I don't have time to die. I have too much to do." And he kept trying to convince me that I was going to die, and I kept saying, "No, I have too much to do."
Mhm.
I know I no longer have any sign of it. It went away eventually, but it was so unusual for me to say something like that to a doctor, because at the time doctors knew everything.
Right.
And so for me to say, "No, I don't have time to do that. I'm gonna keep going." So
Wow. Wow. Life is amazing.
it is. It is.
It's
It is an
truly
adventure.
amazing. And I find myself saying, like probably so many other people, there's not enough hours in the day, and there's times when I sit and I said, I can see how time stands still for nobody. It's constantly moving, no
It,
matter what I'm doing.
it is, but there are times when you bend time. There are times when you are doing something that is so um,
Engrossing.
in depth for you that you literally bend time. When I painted the deck of cards that I painted, um, I remember I would get up at 7. I would be at school at 8. I would teach until 3. I would be home by 4, and from 4 to 4, I would paint, and then I would get an hour or two of sleep. I would get up and I would do it again, and for 9 months, I never missed a day of school. I never missed a little league game, a concert, or a Cub Scout, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was so energized, it was unbelievable. So there are times when you can tap into that universal energy, and it absolutely energizes you to the point that you are just so sparkly and high, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
And I don't think I've ever had a high like that again. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had times when I was doing spiritual work or something, and and I was tired going in, but by the time I was done, I was so invigorated. And I think that there are times that when you're doing something like spiritual work or true channeling or true whatever, that that you're bringing in a cosmic energy that doesn't take away your physical energy, it charges it even more. And you're able to accomplish so much more because you're in a flow that is allowing you to draw upon universal stuff rather than your own physical energy field.
And maybe that's the key. Do you meditate or do yoga?
Um,
Um,
I meditate, but in my own ways.
mhm,
I garden. I do knitting.
mhm.
I do crochet work. Um, I find different forms of meditation. I don't do a formal yoga or
Structured.
yeah, no. I will sit and listen to the birds. I will, blend in with nature, but I don't have a formal practice of it.
Mm,
Every time I try to do a formal kind,
yeah.
I get antsy.
Right, right.
So so I just
Same
find
here.
I find other ways to tell my ego to go away and go to the movies, go to lunch. I'm going to sit here and just listen to spirit,
Yeah,
and that works for me. It's different. There are people that look at candles. There are people that stare in bowls of water. There are people that watch ice cubes melt. There are people that do yoga. There are people that there's so many different forms of meditation. Putting a jigsaw puzzle together is an amazing form of
yeah,
meditation because if
yeah,
you look at what you do, you get the edges together first and then you fill on the insides. And as you're putting the pieces of the puzzle together, it's very reflective of putting your life back together, finding the pieces you're missing and putting the pieces where they belong.
wow.
So you get so focused on something else that your conscious mind is not paying attention. So your higher consciousness is able to come through to you with inspiration and with insight and with all sorts of wonderful material.
Right.
Another form of meditation.
Wow. Um, so what do you do when you can't? Because what I find for me is, I mean, there's just, I can't shut my mind off at night when I'm thinking I'm really tired. I'm saying, oh, good, I'm exhausted. Let me go and lay down. But as soon as my head hits the pillow and I want to go, because there are special places that I go when
Uh-huh.
I'm asleep, but if I don't get to sleep, I can't go.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden, first I'll hear this high pitched sound, and then boom, it's like my mind starts, I don't know, but just all these flashes and pictures and things. I just want to go to sleep. I want to go to wherever it is I go when I go to sleep. I want to leave here for a few, and I can't.
Usually, I know what you mean. Your eyelids are down, but your eyeballs are wide awake.
Yes.
Um, Good thing to do would be to do some journaling. And a lot of times those situations happen if you have been listening to the radio or listening to television or reading in a book right before you went to bed, because your
Okay.
mind was so clicked up that it just can't unclick. So taking time right before you go to bed to really center yourself and empty your mind before you try to go to sleep. I haven't really found a great way to deal with it because it happens to me all the time. And I watch the clock and it's like, okay, so it's 5:30 in the morning. Maybe now I can get some sleep. And
Yeah. The sun's up. Okay. Now, we forget I have to start training, meet the training for the horse at
Mhm.
7, you know, unless I was trying to think, and you tell me your opinion on that. I was wondering that maybe some people's biological makeup is different,
Absolutely.
you know.
I don't require a lot of sleep. And sometimes the sleep I require is like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
happily I'm retired, so that if I want to switch my entire schedule around, I can do that.
Yeah.
And just, take a nap or two during the day and then really function like heck at night. So that it's really kind of an exciting thing for me. But if you have a job, then yeah, it's very difficult.
Lucky for me that my job is whatever I want to do.
That's a good thing.
Thank God. Okay, so we're gonna go through the sections that I picked out in your book
Okay.
and tell me, what if you can remember what prompted that. And the first one I'm going to start with is the new age is old as time. I love that.
Yes.
That was every generation comes into the earth plane with the concept of a new age, but
Um,
it's not true.
but
There
but
is no new age.
it's true. There is no well, the new age is right now. This is the new
Mhm.
age. Um, I think what got to me was that the people were talking about the new age as though it was something special that had never happened before.
Right.
And it's like, what do you mean? It's always been happening.
Mhm.
And it's I think that's what got me to writing that particular point, because I had a whole bunch of my friends said, well, it's a new age now, and we have a better understanding of stuff than they did back 20 years ago. And it was, no, no, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what spurred that one on. That was an easy one.
Okay. And then I like the seeds of wisdom. You said there are countless individuals who have accumulated huge libraries and feel they have the knowledge of the universe at their fingertips. But you
Yeah.
go on to say accumulated knowledge represents seeds of wisdom that must be taken in, nurtured, and absorbed into the consciousness and then manifested into the time that they serve.
Yeah. Actually, so many people had read books, taken classes, had certificates. I studied for 3 days and now I'm a shaman.
Yeah.
Or, I studied to become a medium for 4 days and I got a certificate here.
Yeah.
And, it's like, just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean it's become wisdom inside of you. And even then, unless you're able to manifest it in your life, then there's no element of having learned anything. So it's sort of like you, you you have access to these seeds, but unless you nurture them and allow them to become a part of you, to go from wisdom and book knowledge into from book knowledge into wisdom, and then not only that, you have the wisdom inside of you, but if you don't live it, if you don't share it, if you don't put it out there,
Exactly.
then you've killed the seeds.
Exactly. Exactly. Gosh. And what about healing doesn't come through prayer and promises? It comes to us through action and intent.
Yes, that's true. And it's self-healing.
Mhm.
And it's not going out and healing other people. I get so upset with people. You can, especially with Reiki stuff, you can share energy. You can send energy to a person who is in terrible trouble. But the only thing is you can't tell them how to use it. So that I had somebody once who told me that she had a pregnant lady she was working with, and she was trying to heal the pregnant lady, and she was intent, and she was getting other people to come in and work on the pregnant lady. The pregnant lady had a miscarriage, and she had the miscarriage because everybody was trying to heal her of being pregnant.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so you have to understand that while you have energy and you can share it, you release it to another person. And if they don't use it for healing, that's okay.
Wow.
But you don't walk around and say you're a healer and that you can heal. Um, Jesus did a good job of it. He healed, but we aren't quite there.
No,
So it's to 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 have the arrogance to say you can heal someone else of something that is happening to them because it's a lesson they needed to learn. um, Quite often we our bodies, we have things going wrong with us because there's a spiritual reason for it. Sometimes, gosh, my sister broke her shoulder. Her husband was dying of cancer, and she fell and broke her shoulder, and she was devastated with it. And I said, do you think maybe it's because you weren't letting other people help you and you were shouldering everything all by yourself, and that the universe was trying to tell you not to shoulder it? um, Quite often, things that maladies that we have, um, down to toe fungus. I mean, it
exactly.
all, there's a reason for it, and if you can figure that reason out, it will go away. And as far as cancer and major diseases, um, there's a lesson there, and I don't know what it is. It's up to every individual to figure it out.
Individual.
But it's a matter of coming into your own personal power and understanding your spiritual journey. And if cancer is something that you're meant to have, then that takes you out. But you know, working with it, not against it, and allowing yourself to heal on many levels. People who, when they do finally pass away, they have come to a great sense of peace within themselves because of the
Wow.
journey they've been
Yeah.
on.
That
So
makes a lot of sense. Wow. Wow. Okay, let's talk about reflection, how we reflect upon others and
I,
how others perceive us. I mean, I wrote a poem that almost said the same thing. That's so reflection is a most important quality within us all, for it shows us who we are and what we want to be.
that it's that is so true. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's
Um, we are magnets, and we
mhm.
attract to ourselves people who are attracted to us because there's a similarity. And if suddenly you don't like the people that are around you, you take a look inside yourself and you make changes. But
Right.
that particular article um, was triggered by a situation in the last home I was in Connecticut, and there was a neighbor who hated me because I bought the house from someone she hated, and I got the hate because it just went along with the house. And she
Wow.
was nasty and she was mean. And in my younger days, I had a mouth on me that let me tell you, I could level you in a heartbeat. I mean, I was good. And one day I was walking down the road. She was dumping garbage all over my side of the property. And I said, please don't do this. It's going to attract animals and we don't need that. And she got really nasty back at me. And I was ready to really let her have it. And I realized in that moment, if I did what I wanted to do,
Uh-huh.
I would be a reflection of who she was and I would become her. And it was like, oh, I don't ever want to do that. And so I gave her a compliment and I gave her a couple more and then I walked on. And as I'm walking down the pathway, I said, oh, so this is what the higher road feels like.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was,
Yeah.
it gives you, it will give you a reflection of who and where you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
And,
And
and
go ahead.
it's just sort of like if you're surrounded with I'm in Tennessee now, and I was told when I came from the north that Southerners were not accepting of Northerners, of Yankees, and so I moved in here, with a little fear and trepidation, but went out and met everybody. They are the nicest people, and it's sort of like I went out and I said, I introduced myself to everybody, I talked to everybody, and everybody was kind and nice back. That
Mm-hmm.
isn't always going to happen to you. There are people out there that just, don't have any intention of being nice to anyone. But
Right.
in the most part, what you put out there is what comes back at you. What's
Yeah.
going on in your life is a reflection of you, of something inside of you. And if it's something you don't, if what's coming at you is something that you really don't like, it's important to take a look inside yourself and saying, how do I fix something inside of me? Because it isn't that person, it's me.
Yeah.
And this is a reflection of what's going on inside of me. So let me come to terms with this. Let me make this better. Let me be a gentler person to myself. And then usually the person disappears once you're really working on yourself. And then you find the reflection that you get from other people is a lot nicer and kinder.
Yeah, because my question wasn't, but I guess you answered it. I was going to ask you on that. Does the outside alter our reflection through interactions, which then distorts the who we are and afflict our purity of spirit that is carried within? And you pretty much,
It's an energetic. I had and every now and then you catch a lesson as it's coming at you, and I love it when that happens because
yeah.
um, a long time ago, um, somebody who said they were helping me with my website actually stole my website, and I had to pay somebody to hack my own website to get my website back, and
Wow.
it was traumatic as heck, and
Wow.
and when it happened, a lot of my friends said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, nothing. And I said, she had power over me because she told me I couldn't do something, and now I'm going to learn it and I'm going to do it myself. So it was a great lesson for that. And secondly, they kept saying, aren't you going to tell people what she did? And I said, no, because the universe does balance things out.
Mm.
And it did. And
Mhm.
I won't say what happened to her, but it's sort of like, I know the universe will balance this out this life or next. And it would be nice if I could actually see the balance, because that would be cool.
Yeah.
But you don't always see the
You
balance.
don't.
But in this case, I did. And it was, I didn't tell anybody what she had done. I didn't say anything. I just said, we're not working together anymore. And that was it. And I learned to do the stuff on the website that she told me I couldn't possibly learn, and I did.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful learning experience. I will not write her a thank you note. I'm not that evolved, but I am grateful for the experience.
Wow. Wow.
Like I said, no thank you notes, not this time.
Not this time.
Nope. I have no
Okay.
notepaper.
Blank pages. I love that. The past is a book. That ringing a bell.
Mhm.
Past is a book that has already been written.
Yeah.
The future is like blank pages, and
Yeah.
you'll never run out of ink as you write it. It's
Exactly.
like,
And so many
wow.
people get stuck with the past, and they don't realize
Man.
that it's like today is the only guarantee you've got. There's no guarantee for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But what you've got today, fill it, fill it. And just the joy of knowing that we create our reality by our perception of it.
Yeah.
So that if you just write about how beautiful you want the future to be, the universe helps to help you create it. But if you just leave stuff floating in your head, it doesn't have any impact. But if you write it down, if you create your future by writing about it, you cement it into this reality, and your spirit helps you to manifest it. So you do create your reality. You can manifest it. You can make magic happen in your life. Just
Yeah.
just taking the trouble to create, instead of saying, well, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the morning and letting it go. So there are times when writing things out, as far as a list of things that you want to accomplish, having a checklist is a good idea. Doesn't
Wow.
work for everybody, but it does work for me.
Wow. And then there's the one about the babies when they entered this world, they carry within a fully developed soul energy
Yes.
that is aware and fully present. Hallelujah. That is so true.
And a lot of times, when they cry and they're not wet and they're not hungry, they're frustrated because they have a fully evolved master spirit in them that wants to say something and can't
I
make the
can't
mouth.
articulate it.
And it's like, and I think something that's always driven me crazy is people that talk baby talk to these babies. They kind of look at you like, are you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the people that say, oh, she's young, they do things in front of these kids
Oh no, they
and
are
they think, oh, they're just kids. They don't know.
they
Believe me, I
learn.
remember back to 18 months
Oh
falling out of that damn crib. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
no,
And the things that I thought about
they
but
are
didn't
taking everything
understand.
from their reality in, and
Yeah.
they are seeing how people interact, and they are creating a pattern inside of themselves
Hmm.
from that they will follow for the rest of their life.
Hmm.
So show them love,
Yeah.
show them, love within the family, show them laughter and joy, because
Yeah.
you want to give them a pattern that is going to give them a rich, wonderful, nurturing lifetime.
And there's this one, I wanted to read this poem out loud um,
Okay.
as we start to end the show because it's simply beautiful. Ancient wisdom's call. A dream speaks to an inner need. A door is opened. You thought sealed tight. A gift of love becomes a seed that sheds the light for crystal sight. You quest for truth and find much more. The inner whispers point the way. The soul begins to soar as spirits awaken to share the day. You hold the key, so much long past those ancient wisdoms called to you. Your way is clear, the die is cast. You bridge the space from old to new. I love that, Barbara.
That is pretty.
You must say so yourself, huh?
I uh, all of the poems in the book um, were part of people's readings that I did for them when I painted personal
Wow.
mandalas, and I just gathered them all together. And my late husband Patrick said, "These poems are beautiful. You're going to have to do something with them." And I said, "Don't be silly. And he said, no, we're going to publish them. And I said, I, I
Yeah.
can't, why? And I said, okay, look, you got to put a blurb of some sort with each of them to give it a little bit of meat. And so he asked me to give him the blurbs, and I did. And I mean, that book is not the book I intend to publish, but it has gotten such wonderful reviews from
Oh
people.
my God, I love it. I love it. And
Yeah,
there's so much people out there. You have got to go and get this book. Especially, there is something in it for everything that you would possibly go through.
I've had, I jokingly say it's a good bathroom book because, you know, everything is only a page long.
Yeah.
But I've had people say that, you know, they will open it and get a message every day.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people say wonderful things about it. Um, Maybe that's why it's special, because I never looked to that I was creating something like that. And Patrick saw it and he put it together.
Oh, and what he wrote in there is so right on. You know, that's what prompted me to buy it, because I said, oh, uh, I've got to. He
Yeah.
says letters represent sounds, groups of letters which create words represent thoughts, and strings of words form concepts. And turning those concepts into beautiful and relevant images is called magic. And Barbara DeLong certainly does magic with words. With both poetry and dialogue, she stirs deeper thoughts that awaken higher levels of consciousness, conscience, spirituality, and hope. Barbara evades the limits of gravity by lifting our reality above the physical and emotional and speaking to us on a higher plane. That is so absolutely true. And then he goes on and he says, cosmic, universal, and infinity are weighty words often thrown about carelessly. Barbara, those heavy concepts are mere foundations and stepping stones leading up to an even greater reality, a dimension where the atmosphere is love. There are 50 ways to say give, but none for the concept of greed, and possibility has only one limitation: range of imagination. Having the pleasures of knowing her personally qualifies me to express a simple truth. She does not just express incredible things, she thinks them and lives them as well. Oh my God.
He was a little biased.
I'm feeling the same way.
Oh,
I mean, it's just that is magic to put down in words and to be able to affect people deep within themselves is nothing short of magic.
oh, yeah, there's magic. There is.
And it is. And that's the kind of magic that we all need. We all need.
It's the kind of magic we all have.
Yes. But we don't all know where to look. We
True.
don't know how to pull it out. We don't know. We just don't know. I'm fortunate I can express myself, but
Mhm.
I know, just like in children that they say are autistic or, have a disability. But I found those children are so spiritually advanced.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know. I think people need to just really step back and look deep within themselves and learn to love themselves and appreciate what they're capable of, so then they can project that onto the world.
Absolutely. Couldn't
And
agree more.
I have enjoyed this, Barb. I'm so thankful to
Oh.
Mark Eddy for bringing us together. I love you, Mark.
I'm sure he's around somewhere
I
usually.
know. Hello, Reverend Ed. And he's going to follow the show on to Reverend Ed's
Yes,
The
I
Road
am.
to
What a
Hope.
show. I enjoyed your show, by the way. Very nice.
Barbara, this is Reverend Ed Broderick,
Hi there.
Hello. Hello, Barbara. Very nice
and
to
this
meet
is
you.
Barbara DeLong. And it has been my humble pleasure to have you on this show. I swear, when I meet people that I can resonate with, it's just a feeling inside, because the one thing that it tells me is that I'm not alone.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, I
And
appreciate,
that's
you know,
important.
it's always fun to do somebody else's show because there's no prep. So,
No,
so
on your end, it may not be.
yeah, no,
You just have to bring you and be you, and you were wonderful. I enjoyed this so much.
oh, it was my pleasure, totally. My
I
pleasure.
hope you enjoyed yourself.
I
I
did.
hope,
I had a lot of fun.
and I hope you'll come back.
Just invite me.
And with that, everybody, I don't know where Daryl is, but Daryl, it
Yeah.
is time to take us home. And thank you once again, Barbara DeLong. You can go to her website, Barbara, DELONG.com.
That's me.
And there's a whole world to explore there.
That's true.
And with that, I say good night.
Good night now.
Good night.
And we are clear. Wow, what a show, Ramona. I sat back here and I was just in awe.
Oh,
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 I knew it was going to be good. I mean, how can you pick up the phone and talk to a person for the first time and just click? And I love those moments. I love those moments, because it's like finding someone you've known before you came here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it was a pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And I will invite you back, because there's just so much. I
Oh,
don't know how to show like clips from your documentary. So I figured I wouldn't be able to do it justice, because they have to see.
I,
Ed, you live there. You live back in that area. Have you seen those walls of stone that go on for that have been there for what,
yes.
1,000 years?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes,
No, I
she
love
has
it.
a wonderful um
I thought I recognized you,
yeah.
Barbara, because I actually saw one of your shows, I think, or or an interview that you were in, but your face is so familiar, and now I can put it together.
ah,
Reverend Ed, she's one of the greats. I mean, she was there. Like all I say is she's one of the greats. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say when she was. She's one of the great ones.
I'm
I
one of
mean,
the great ones
elder.
still
She's
alive.
elder.
yeah. I mean, she's up there with. Let me put her in the ranks
Oh,
for the paranormal metaphysical area that she does in the heart areas we call it. She's up there with the Jim Mars. That's how
Okay.
big she is. All right. She's one of the gods, as they say. Go, we all
An
say it.
elder. She's an elder And
Yeah.
I'm beginning to realize that that's what I am. The people of my generation that have lived and learned and studied, and once we're gone, so we
It's
have,
just my videos. There's only the my video left to see it.
yeah, but they might start taking those down and
Oh,
stuff.
I got my own archive.
Recreating their own
Oh, I got an
thing.
archive. I'll play these for the rest of my life. Got 4 hard drives full of shows, and I mean, out of the 4 hard drives.